y bienvenidas a Sex and Spanglish, where we empower mujeres to get in touch with their bodies, own their pleasure, and where we discuss all the cochinadas our abuelas didn't tell us about. Hi y'all, my name is Ana, sexpert, certified sex and life coach, proud Latina, and your go-to guide for all things sex. I'm here to help you get out of your head and into your body to have mind-blowing sex. Let's be real. La comunidad latina doesn't talk about sex. Pero qué suerte tienen because this Latina does. My vision is to have Latinas worldwide talking about sex just like we do with Chisme. Join me every week to hear me discuss todas las cochinadas sin vergüenza. Bienvenidas de nuevo, mi gente. So today I'm going to be soltando toda la sopa on reality versus chisme. And first, I want to share a reality of mine right now. For those of y'all that can't see that are on the podcast versus watching on YouTube, I am wearing a sweater, and it is the first sweater, I was going to say of the year, but that's not correct, of the fall season. And so I'm super excited that it's getting colder in the morning, that I can open my windows in the morning. I used to hate that as a kid. I'd be like, it's fucking freezing in here, Mom. Why are the windows open? But now I'm turning into my mother and opening the windows in the morning. And I think she did it because she didn't want to turn on the air conditioner. I'm doing it because I like that cold feeling. I like having the fresh air come in, and I especially like having the windows open when I'm cleaning. I don't know, it feels weird to clean with the windows closed. Don't judge me, but if you agree with this rule that I have of mine, definitely let me know because I want to know that I'm not alone. But anyway, I'm super excited to be wearing this sweater. So going back to the sopa of today, which is reality versus chisme. And I'm going to go into all of this, but I just want to point out that chisme is usually filled with lies or things that we make up or other people have made up. And so I really want to start with that. So let's get into it. So I want you all to think about the last time that you were venting or chismosando, as my mom would say, to your friends about something going on with some drama in your life. You know, that scandalous tia. You know, maybe your man is doing the same shit again that like you have the same argument about over and over and over, and it's happening again. Or you found out that your friend was talking trash about you, or maybe your comadre is having drama with her baby daddy, and you know, all the things. Whatever that story was, replay it in your head. And I really want you to pause this video or pause this podcast and really think about it. Go back to that time when that happened and think about what happened, what was said, what was done, what did you say, and then come back. So hopefully you pause, hopefully you can, you played that story in your head and you came back. And if you didn't, I really encourage you to do so because it's going to be really helpful in listening to this video or this podcast. So what did your story sound like? Just think about it for a second. What did your story sound like? How would you describe it? And if it was anything like mine, it was full of rules. And you might not notice that these are rules, but I can almost guarantee you that it had rules in it. We typically don't tell stories based in reality. We don't tell just the facts. We often add rules in. And so I'm going to go into a little bit right now about how you can tell whether or not your story has rules in it. And these rules are usually about how someone is supposed to act and how their behavior should change in certain situations. So a super common example that I come across with my clients is a mujer is in a relationship with some dude and she's like, well, I want him to be like super romántico, cariñoso, all the things, right? Okay, great. That's your preference. Cool. But only in certain situations. In other situations, she wants him to be super macho, super manly. And if he's acting either super cariñoso or super manly in the wrong context, so like in the wrong situation, then she gets upset. even though technically he's following her rules, but he's not following her rules in the situation that she wants them to follow, right? So if there was, I don't know, there was a guy hitting on her, for example, and he was being super cariñoso versus super like macho, like, hey, that's my woman type of thing, then she might be upset. But then they're at home and he's being kind of like macho, manly, not really cariñoso. And she's like, oh, well, now you're supposed to be cariñoso. And so, really recognizing that that's how we apply rules to people. And that's just one example. And there's nothing wrong with rules, but what makes them a problem is when we tell ourselves that it's reality, right? So, going back to that example, it's like, oh, you know, he's only macho in these situations. He's only cariñoso in these situations. And then we make it mean something about us. And that's really not empowering at all. If we have rules, we really need to recognize that they are rules. They are things that we are saying should be done. It's not really a fact, right? It's not reality. If a camera was like, in your house or following you around, it wouldn't capture like cariñoso or macho, anything like personality wise. It would capture only reality. So actual things that happened, things that were said, things that were done, right? It's not going to capture like, oh, cariñoso or macho or whatever that is. So here are some ways to tell if you're adding rules to the situation, to reality. They're descriptive words, so things like big, small, wrong, right, macho, cariñoso, things like that. Those are descriptive words, and this isn't to say that you can't use these words, but really recognizing that those are rules, not reality. There are emotions, happy, sad, mad, angry. Now, in some instances, this can be reality. You can be, if you're talking about yourself, it's reality. I am mad, I am sad, I am happy, I am confident, whatever. That's reality. If you are talking about someone else, they are mad, they are irritated, sad, whatever. It most likely is a rule. So there's some exceptions to that, and that's for another day. But if you are just observing something and just assuming, then it's a rule. If there are words that have vague definitions, such as argument, cheating, rude, disrespectful, those are rules. Those are not reality. The camera could not capture that. And again, there's nothing wrong with rules, but what I want you to notice is the difference between the story, which is reality, right, compared to the story plus the rules, which is chisme. So here's an example, because I know I explained a lot right now. You and your man both have jobs, you live together, and he doesn't help with the household chores. You are tired of his disrespect and you believe he is wrong for this. So this is similar to something that you might tell your comadre, right? Like, oh, we both have jobs and we live together and he doesn't help with the household chores. I'm tired of him disrespecting me. And like, he's so wrong for this, right? And when you're telling your comadre this, let's be real, you're hoping to hear, yeah, like, what the fuck? Like, why isn't he helping you? And like thinking of ways that you can get him to help so that you could be right. That's usually how the conversation goes. But here's the reality. Here's like what the camera would capture. You both have jobs. You live together. And there are chores you do. And then there are chores that he doesn't do. That's the reality, right? It's going to capture you doing certain chores, him not doing certain chores, you both having jobs, and you both living together. And here, that doesn't sound too bad, right? Like, okay, that's just what it is, right? Notice how like it's not very like emotional in this reality, right? It's just like, oh, yeah, that's just what it is. Like, we both have jobs, we both live together, there are chores, I do some, he doesn't do some. That's it. Not a big deal. Then we talk about adding the rules. So here are the rules from that story that you told your friend. You believe him not following your rules, doing certain chores, are a sign of disrespect. You think that him not doing certain chores is a sign of disrespect. So think about this. What do you make this mean about you that he's not doing the chores? That he doesn't respect you? That he doesn't love you? That he doesn't respect your household? So just think about that. You also believe, another rule that you have, that his inaction is wrong. So what do you make this mean about you? That if he really loved you, he would help? That he doesn't care about the relationship? That he doesn't care about the household? Really ask yourself these questions. And the thing about Chisme is that it's always a reflection of what we think about ourselves. When you notice yourself thinking like quote unquote bad things about others, ask yourself what you're thinking about you in that situation. Because reality is rooted in facts, things that actually happened. Like if I call up my friend and say, hey, our friend, I don't know, Juana is in the hospital, that's a reality, right? I'm telling her. But if I'm telling, this whole other thing about it, like adding all these rules, then that's chisme. So it's things that actually happened, things that the camera captured. Chisme, on the other hand, stems from our thoughts about ourselves. It's like holding up a mirror to ourselves and seeing all the thoughts we think about ourselves glaring right back at us. Chisme feels better because we act like it's about someone else, when in reality, it's really about us. But it feels better because we're taking the focus off of ourselves for a moment and talking about someone else. Have you ever heard the saying, like, hurt people hurt people? When I think about that, it's like, oh, people are hurting people because then if they're busy hurting people, they're not thinking about the hurt that's been done to them. So when we're out here like chismosando about people, it's so that we don't have to think about what we think about ourselves. If we are focused on ourselves, we don't have time to spread chisme about other people. Reality feels pretty bad because we're left with just the facts, whatever the camera captured, what really happened. So what would you rather have? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below as well. See you next week. If you'd like a question answered on the podcast, send me an email at sexinspanglish@gmail.com. That's sexinspanglish@gmail.com. If you like what you heard today and are interested in getting a personalized pleasure plan, head to the show notes and to get access to my calendar. You'll pay $69 for 69 minutes of life-changing information. Ya tú sabes, the shit that will make your abuela say, "Ay, hija, de eso no se habla." As a Latina sexpert and certified sex and life coach, I help you navigate your culture and your sexuality sin vergüenza. You won't find this anywhere else. Join me every week to hear me talk about orgasms, STIs, birth control, and all the other cochinadas your abuelas didn't tell you about. But that's not all. We'll also discuss machismo, la tía metiche, and sexual stories from other Latinas just like you. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Sex in Spanglish and send me a DM or leave me a comment letting me know you heard this. And be sure to join my Facebook community, Latinas Cochinas. Espero verte pronto.